Spirit people here, you can talk to them through this.
Shot.
Hi guys, welcome back. Got a bit of a mystery in this one today. If you remember a few videos back, I was asking the question of whether the Sbox can be used to help solve crimes and mysteries. I've had some interesting responses to something weird that's happened in my town. So basically the other day I was in town and I was walking around this 750-year-old ruin of a church. It's called St. Mary's. And it's been a ruin for quite a long time now, and I'll talk you through it as a voiceover here because there was people doing like building works and stuff, so I just sort of cut the sound out for this bit. Yeah, so as you can see it's a graveyard, but all the gravestones have been removed to turn it into a kind of garden. As you'll see later on in the video, when I go inside the church, you can see all the gravestones are leaned up against the wall inside the church. Some of these are really old, a lot of them are about 200 years old. And one in particular that I was looking for, that I got a bit surprised when I couldn't actually find. And this is a heart-shaped stone. It says R.O. on it, which stands for Richard Owen. And he was a man who died in 1815 with his lover Jane Lewis. And they were commemorated by the Heartstone as they committed suicide because they weren't allowed to marry. And so this stone, they're buried in the churchyard, but we don't know where now because the headstones have been removed. But this particular stone was set into an area by some steps. And as I was wandering around, I thought it was just really strange that I couldn't find it anywhere. And I thought maybe it's been covered with ivy or something really weird. And it's only when I got home and I remember I'd taken a photo of it some time back that I realised it was actually in this part of the wall that had completely gone. Like all the stones had just completely disappeared from that area. Now this church unfortunately is well known for having people target it as vandals. A lot of vandalism has happened sadly at this area. And so I thought, I wonder if I could use the Sbox to try and find out what's happened. I hadn't realised at the time when I was in the church that it was missing, I just assumed I couldn't see it. But I did a quick Sbox session there and I got some interesting replies. This is what I got at that session. Spirit people here, you can talk to them through this if you want to. You want to hear some voices?
Shot.
So yeah, as you can see, this is where all the headstones are that have been moved from the outside part. Some really old ones here. Let's have a look. 1842, 1847. Yeah, these are really old. So this here would have been the inside of the church. And yeah. It's an unusual one. These look really old. Let's have a look. 1823, wow. Lewis. And Owen. Is that 1800? Is that looks like it was in 1890, it's hard to tell. It must be 1800. 1802 it is, oh my gosh. Wow. So yeah, when I got home, I thought to myself, I wonder if I could maybe use this to ask some questions and sort of find out what happened. I did also post on a Facebook group about it as well, and got some answers through that, and it'd be interesting to see whether it sort of tallies up with this. This is the full session I got from asking questions about what's happened to the stone, what happened to Jane and Richard. Here's what I got. was really interesting what it said about we made a drug and then it said necked it, because they did drink poison and that's how they committed suicide. We do know that much. I've tried to find out online about exactly what happened to these two, and there's very little information out there, but I did a couple more sessions and they seem to come through again.
set.
So from the beginning there, it seems as if somebody climbed on it, and that's kind of what caused it to crumble down. If you look at the pictures of it, does seem plausible. Like, it does look quite loose stone, so it may well be that somebody climbed on it and then it just fell down or something. The stone apparently is safe. I found this out from a Facebook group. The council are keeping it safe. But they haven't put it back yet, so I'm trying to sort of see if I can get them to put that back, because something that has come through this when I've been asking about it is the words "I'm angry," and I think the guy is angry that that's happened. And this is the thing, I suppose, in our culture where we don't, for the most part, believe that spirits live on. Things like grave restoration and things like that, it goes so far down the list of priorities as to be almost considered unimportant. And it is important. It clearly does matter to the spirits when they come through on this. They're still around. They still know what's happening to their graves, even 200 years in the future. I wasn't really expecting to connect with the people. I thought, well, this is a long shot, but I'll give it a go. And when I started getting intelligent answers through, that was really interesting. Especially about things I didn't know, like I didn't know they drank poison until after that came through, and then I found out that it was a liquid that they drank and they'd said necked it. I thought that was interesting. Also, what was really interesting was the word intended that came through at the end. I didn't know this at the time. I had to actually look this up in the dictionary because I'd asked them. I said, why weren't you allowed to marry out of interest? And when the word intended come up, something jogged my memory, and I was like, is that like to do with being engaged or something? Because that's quite an old-fashioned word. And I looked it up in the dictionary, and yeah, intended means that you're intended to marry someone. Like, we don't use that word nowadays, so that was interesting. So I wonder if there was some kind of like arranged marriage that they were trying to protest against. I don't know. I would love to do some more historical digging on this and try and find out, but again, there's very little information on the internet about it, but it's starting to build a picture with this now, which is really interesting. If this can be used to solve crimes and mysteries and things like that by talking to the dead, that would be amazing, wouldn't it? When you think of the potential that has to help people, living and dead, you know. So I followed this up with another session. The reason I'm not doing these sessions on camera, as anyone who's watched my previous vlogs will know, they do not like speaking on this when I'm in front of the camera, so I probably won't do a session with this later on today because I know they don't like it. Very little comes through when I have a camera on me, but absolutely well, as you can hear, absolutely loads comes through when I don't have a camera on. So I'm going to try and respect that, and yeah, I did another session after this had come through, asking about were they intended to be married, and wanting to know these names that keep coming through. I keep getting Lee through, and I think it's a female, and then I get David, who would appear to be my great-grandfather. They don't seem to like him very much, and there's the history to that. Watch my previous vlog if you want to know all about that. And then Henry. I've been getting Henry through quite a bit. There is a Henry in the family, but I always knew him as my Uncle Jack, so I don't think it's him. I think he would come through as my Uncle Jack if it was him, so I don't think it's him. I think this is just somebody else called Henry. So I did another session. I asked about were you intended, is that what the suicide was about? And in turn I asked, is Henry here? Can Henry speak? Gave a pause, and then is David here? And then is Lee here? This is what I got.
With music. Potential. It's not a... Nah. Do you think? Absolutely.
Yeah, the intelligent communication that comes through this thing is just amazing. I had a bit of an accident the other week. I bashed my head. I don't know if you can see it if my makeup's covering it up. But yeah, I had a bit of an incident and I was okay. I had a little bit of concussion, but I was all right, knocked my head. And this has been a talking point for the spirits. This is what they have to say about that.
Must have hurt.
Good on guys.
I also found it interesting as well in the other clip that they seem to have jobs and go out in the evening, and it said we do things, and I thought that's interesting because I've always felt like they're not always here. Like they're here some of the time, they're not always here when I switch this on. Sometimes it's really quiet. but they're here, they come and go, and they seem to have lives outside of floating around as spirits, if you know what I mean. And it is so interesting. I'm trying to put a picture together of what exactly is going on here and what we are talking to, and how do they live as dead people. So yeah, it's really baffling, but it's definitely the same voices that are coming through. David has a really recognisable voice. I definitely recognise his. Something very strange happened the other day. I've been reading a book, I've left it upstairs actually, I should have brought it down with me, a book about Frank Sumption, who was the guy who invented the very first ghost box back in 2002. And yeah, he completely pioneered this technology, apparently with the help of dead scientists who helped communicate with him to improve it and refine it into the ones we have today. And I was reading about him, such a good book, Thinking Outside the Box, I think it's called. It's a really good book. And in it was saying how he referred to himself as Purple, because I think that was the name the spirits gave him. They called him like the Purple Princess or something. And so he'd say his name was Purple. The session I did the day after that book arrived and I'd been reading it, I'm Purple came through this. And when I transcribed that, I was like, what? What's really strange as well is that it said it in an American accent, which is not hugely unusual for British radio, but I mostly get British accents through this because I'm in the UK, so that was quite strange. I'll play you that clip now. So I don't know, was that Frank Sumption coming to say hi? I did try and get in contact further, but I didn't get anything else through. But that would be really cool if so, because yeah, he seemed like a great guy. So yeah, I'm really inspired by the people that invented this thing. And it does kind of make me wonder what where things are going, like what the future is of this type of ghost box. Something I would really like to see. I'm not remotely scientifically minded, so this completely falls to somebody else to invent the thing I have in my mind here, because I wouldn't even know where to start. But something I would really like to see is a version of this that has an inbuilt screen and inbuilt AI that can transcribe what's being said in real time and bring it up on a screen. I think if you could do that, the evolution of this thing would jump along in leaps and bounds, because we already have these separate technologies, we just need to join them together. So if you're watching this video now, there's a button you can press underneath that says something like see transcription or something, and if you click on that, it'll come up at the side and AI will be transcribing everything I'm saying word for word. It does a pretty good job of it. When I play this on screen, it does an absolutely terrible job of it. The AI transcriber cannot make head or tail of what this thing is saying, but it can understand a human speech. So I think what would need to happen is people would need to train AI systems to filter out all that sort of background noise and do what I do basically, which is like listen in over and over and over if need be until it gets it. So if you can train AI to do what I do, most people don't want AI taking their jobs. I wish AI would, because this thing would be so much easier to use if a human didn't have to transcribe it. And then, you know, particularly on investigations, I think very little actually gets heard. These really long sentences that are very faint and they're just underneath. You have to really turn the volume up to hear those, but they're there and they're often the most interesting communication. I think if you had a device that could transcribe that so you could read it in real time, I think that would revolutionise communication and you'd get so much more through this. So yeah, any inventors out there, there's the challenge. There we go. Make an AI, one of these with a screen on it, and I think this thing will explode. Yeah, it's been really nice weather lately. I'm hoping to get out and about a bit more and go to some more historical places. It's really cool how they keep saying like keep on and keep on doing what you're doing. Not that I have any plans to give up or anything. YouTube just isn't pushing me at all in the algorithm at the moment. I'm still trying to figure out how to sort of work YouTube really to my advantage. I think a lot of people are having the same problem, but yeah, if you do know of anyone who you think would be interested in this kind of content, please do share it out to them and try and spread the word. Yeah, and any tips on YouTube marketing, let me know. But no, I'm happy to keep it a small sort of group at the moment. But if you have enjoyed, do like and subscribe, and yeah, love and light to you all. Stay curious. Bye. Switch this on, sometimes it's really quiet. But they're here, they come and go. Sometimes it's really quiet. But they're here, they come and go. But they're here. That would be really cool if so, because yeah, he seemed like a great guy. That would be really cool if so, because yeah, he seemed like a great guy. He seemed like a great guy.